Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans. What we do around here is we bring about social, psychological, emotional, and coaching topics for discussion in an audio format on a daily basis, or almost daily anyway. And today we're going to talk about learning from your mistakes, 6 ways to learn from your mistakes. The first is to acknowledge that you make mistakes at all, or missteps, and that you will in the future. So there's a value to accepting that mistakes or missteps are part of life for every person, no matter how smart you are, no matter your background, no matter how much you've been conditioned not to make them. You will make them because you weren't created perfectly and you weren't created infallibly, so therefore mistakes are bound to happen. And to accept that they exist, to accept that they are part of your um, existence, experience, and life course is not only smart, it's a recipe for freedom, right? When we acknowledge that there is freedom in accepting that mistakes happen, we make life so much easier for ourselves and for others. First of all, other people are more likely to work with us and help us because we have a proper view of life being a work in progress. Secondly, we can be easier on ourselves because we can adapt and adjust accordingly to the missteps and mistakes that we do make along the way. Be willing to ask yourself the difficult questions. Why did I do this? Why didn't I do that? Why not look at it this way? How can I improve? Where are my blind spots? What am I doing that's hindering my progress? All of these are tough questions, but they're ones that you need to make in order to avoid making the same mistake twice, or 3 times, or 5 times, or 10 times, etc. The more you're willing to introspectively question the mistakes you've already made, the easier it becomes, A, not to make them again, and B, to start to notice the patterns that people fall into when they're about to make a mistake. Do you always trust people too easily? Do you invest your money based on what someone says without doing research? Do you believe that just because you're related to a person, they should accept you the way you are, even though they've proven through their actions that they don't always do that? Do you hold to your beliefs as though the rest of the world holds to them as the same truth that you do? Where are your mistakes? Why do you hold to them so hard? And what are you going to do to create difference for yourself and your future? Next is make a plan. Have ways to insulate against your most common mistakes. Have ways to insulate against procrastination. Have ways to insulate against negative thinking. Have ways to insulate against overwhelming yourself. Learn what the most likely ways are for you to slip away from your goal and insulate against them, so that you begin to understand that mistakes are also patterns of behavior which will recur and recur and recur as many times as we allow them to until we change our behavior. If you want to avoid mistakes, change is inevitable and it's necessary. Next is make sure you have safeguards against your blind spots. This is huge. If you, for example, are going out dating for the first time in a while, and you know that words of affirmation is your love language, but you also know that you fall for people who are very complimentary, you've got to have a different gauge on how you judge or determine whether someone's sincere or not. If you know that when you're around children you overspend money because you don't like to say no to kids, then limit the time you spend around children only to the points where you can afford to lose that money. If you know that you get aggravated when people talk about politics, then only talk about politics with people who either A, are willing to pull you in line, or B, are willing to hear you out and not take things personally. Don't set yourself up to make the same mistake multiple times. The next is understand what the mistake costs you and how change benefits you. A cost-benefit analysis of any series of behaviors is essential in creating change. When you understand why you do something, and you also understand how doing it or not doing it affects your life long-term and short-term, the easier it is not to do the same thing twice or 3 times or more. And so when you have the list of why I do this, why doing it doesn't serve me, and how to change it, you've given yourself a pathway, a virtual map, so to speak, to the freedom you truly deserve and desire. The last one is move forward and leave the mistakes behind you mentally. Go through a release ceremony from a mental perspective. Do whatever you need to do to say, today is a new day, it's fresh, I can look back on it, I can remember this, but I'm not going to go back to it emotionally. I'm not going to wallow in it. I'm not going to fear making the same mistake twice. I'm not going to beat myself up and be harsh about the mistakes I've made. I'm going to release back to the universe, back to God, back to Goddess, whatever it is that you believe in. I'm going to release this thing because its time in my life and having control of my life is over, and there's absolutely no benefit to going back and rehashing this. When we do these 6 steps, it's so much easier to handle and learn and grow from our mistakes. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.